Good evening and welcome to Global News. Tonight we're tackling a crisis that quietly unfolds beneath the waves, one that threatens marine ecosystems, coastal economies, and our global climate. It is called ocean acidification. But what exactly is it? And how are human activities contributing to its development? Let's find out. Ocean acidification is caused by human activities that release excessive carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Since the Industrial Revolution and our increasing reliance on fossil fuels such as oil, carbon, and natural gas, we have dramatically increased our CO2 emissions. But the problem doesn't stop in the air. The oceans absorb about 30% of the excess CO2 from the atmosphere. Once in the ocean, CO2 reaches the seawater that forms carbonic acid, which then breaks down into hydrogen ions, lowering the water pH. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, ocean pH levels have dropped about 30%, signaling a major shift in the balance of marine chemistry. This shift might seem small, but even minor changes in pH have devastating consequences for marine life. And it's not the oceans that suffer. This is a planetary problem. Ocean acidification is tied to two other major planetary boundaries: climate change and biodiversity loss, all of which have far-reaching consequences for our planet. Deforestation is another major driver. Forests act as natural carbon sinks, absorbing CO2 from the air. However, large-scale deforestation for agriculture, logging, and the urban expansion has reduced the planet's ability to absorb CO2. Fewer trees means more CO2 stays in the air, increasing the amount that eventually dissolves in the ocean. Industrial agriculture also plays a role. The use of nitrogen-based fertilizer leads to excessive nutrient runoff to the waterways, which causes ocean dead zones, areas with little or no oxygen. While this isn't the same as acidification, both problems are linked. Acidification weakens marine organisms, while dead zones further stress this ecosystem, reducing their ability to recover. Even the construction industry is a major contributor. Construction production alone is responsible for 8% of global CO2 emissions. The process of making CO2 releases CO2 into the atmosphere, and just like with the fossil fuels, a portion that the CO2 is absorbed by the oceans worsens acidification. All of these human activities have pushed us beyond critical planetary boundaries. Ocean acidification is closely tied to both climate change and biodiversity loss, creating a dangerous cycle where ecosystems are weakened and more vulnerable to further damage.
Now we're going to talk about the consequences and the global impact that this issue brings to the world. Ocean acidification significantly disrupts marine ecosystem. The decrease in carbonate ions is essential for many marine organisms to build their shells and skeletons, weakness corals, shellfish, and crustaceans. Coral reefs, known as the rainforest of the sea, are particularly vulnerable, as their skeletal structures become fragile and erode faster than they can actually regenerate. This threatens biodiversity and the habits of countless marine species. But marine life also struggles with physiological stress. As ocean acidity increases, organisms must expend more energy to survive, leaving less for critical functions like growth and reproduction. This disruption affects fish population and plankton species, which form the foundation of marine food web, causing cascading effects throughout the ecosystems. But these consequences of ocean acidification extends beyond marine life, directly impacting human societies. Commercially valuable shellfish species, such as oysters, clams, and urchins, are at risk, reducing their availability and affecting fisheries and aquaculture industries. Many coastal communities that rely on these resources for food and income face economic instability and even job losses. The weakening of coral reefs also exacerbates coastal vulnerabilities. Reefs serve as natural barriers and absorb wave energy, reducing erosion and protecting shorelines from storms and rising sea levels. As reefs deteriorate, coastal regions become more exposed to extreme weather events, increasing risk to infrastructure, tourism, and local economies. Ocean acidification disrupts the ocean's ability to regulate climate. As the ocean absorbs excess of CO2, it loses efficiency as a carbon sink, accelerating global warming and exacerbating climate instability. The long-term implications include intensify water patterns like we see actually right now, but this is gonna be bigger, food shortages, and socioeconomic challenges worldwide, and specific of the jobs that are related to the ocean. And ocean acidification is not just an environmental issue, but as we saw, it is also a human activity issue because it affects the day by day of many population that relate on this system.
In words of the United Nations, ocean acidification threatens the survival of marine life, disrupts the food chain, and undermines both the vital services provided by the oceans and our own food security. There have been different policies and solutions to combat ocean acidifications. Some examples are the Ocean Foundation International Ocean Acidification Initiative. This program is dedicated to increase the capacity of scientists, policymakers, and communities to monitor and understand ocean acidification. It provides practical tools and resources designed to work globally. The results have been, to date, this organization has deployed 17 monitoring equipment kits in 16 countries, reduced 8 regional trainings involving over 150 scientists, and developed a new monitoring equipment kit that reduced the cost of monitoring by 90%. Another example of this has been the Regional Action Plan for Latin America and the Caribbean Ocean Acidification. This plan addresses gaps in the region's capacity to address changes affecting the oceans. It focuses on regional standardization, data availability, communication and dissemination, and public policy. Their results have been that the plan has promoted collaboration among countries in this region, facilitating resource mobilization and capacity building to monitor ocean acidification. Well, now we are going to make some public policy recommendations for the governments, such as the implementation of carbon taxes, including the maritime industry in the CO2 reduction agreements, also the regulation of agricultural fertilizers and pesticides. This will help to reduce runoff of chemicals that contribute to acidification. And finally, we also suggest to get the government to enforce law against plastic pollution, as well as limit single-use plastics and improve waste management. The participation in global agreements such as the Paris Agreement and the Global Oceans Treaty are important in the search for sustainable solutions. Ocean acidification is a complex problem that requires immediate action at multiple levels. By implementing public policies focused on international cooperation, scientific research, and the promotion of sustainable practices in all sectors, we can reduce the impact of ocean acidification and preserve the health of ecosystems for future generations. Thank you.
Okay, considering the impact of ocean acidification on food security, economic stability, and geopolitics, what strategies can states and international organizations adopt to mitigate its effect and protect the most vulnerable communities?